Oglądacie podcast Kosmo Polacy. To rozmowy bez spiny, bez cenzury, na totalnym luzie. W imieniu autora proszę o subskrypcję kanału oraz jego ocenę.
Witam Was wszystkich w kolejnym odcinku. Dzisiaj o golfie, życiu na Hawaii oraz w Polsce rozmawiam z moim gościem, którym jest Mark Bednarczyk, Polak urodzony w Honolulu na Hawaii. Mark ukończył studia w New Jersey na kierunku Business Management, następnie pracował na Wall Street. Giełdę porzucił dla golfa, w którego grał od 18 roku życia, zaś od 98 roku jest trenerem. Do Polski przyleciał w roku 2003 na zaproszenie zarządu Polskiego Związku Golfa, aby objąć funkcję trenera kadry narodowej juniorów, którą pełnił ponad 2 lata. Jest członkiem polskiej PGA, Professional Golfers Association, z najwyższym tytułem Fully Qualified Professional. Hello Mark, how are you doing today?
Good, buddy. How you doing today?
Good. Thank you for accepting my invitation.
More than happy to be here. Thanks so much for inviting me.
To be on the podcast. We'll talk about you, your history, of course, your sport of choice, which we're not going to disclose yet. So let's start from beginning. You were born in Hawaii.
Born and raised, yeah.
What were the biggest differences between life there and life in Poland?
Oh my goodness, how much time do we have? I think it's the mentality first about the people. I mean, you have to understand that I lived there till I was 17, and then I went to university on the East Coast in New Jersey. But Hawaii, the only thing the best word I could use is ohana. And that means family. And pretty much what I would say is my real family wasn't the people, my mother and father. It were the people around me, even all my closest friends, all my good friends, their parents treated me like their kid. I got scolded or I got in trouble and I got yelled at by their parents, but it was, you understood it. Plus, people are they're all positive. Everything's hello, how are you, have a great day. There's this warmth. So you don't feel out of place. Even when you're a tourist, the locals really go out of their way to make you feel at home. Here I find it's really difficult because there is a distance and there's, I think I would say like yin and yang where it's so positive there. It's very negative here. And I don't mean everybody, but we're just talking about the majority here, just the people on every day. I mean, you ask people how they're doing for the day and they're looking at you like, why are you asking me, or I think the best story I had was when I was in Hawaii and, the lady at the register goes, how you doing today? I'm like, great, how you doing? And I came back from Hawaii, and of course the mentality is still there. And I go to Selgros, and I asked the lady at the register, "How are you doing today?" She goes, "How am I supposed to be doing it? It's Monday. I'm at work." So yeah, there's that. I think also it has a lot to do with the weather.
Exactly. I was about to ask, do you think that this has to do with the weather being nice and sunny and warm all the time instead of 4 seasons that we have here?
I think 12 months out of the year, and I don't think it's a lot with the 4 seasons, but I think the devastating part of Poland when it comes to the weather is that for a long period of time, you don't see the sun. I mean, I never felt very negative in New Jersey or in New York. Mm-hmm. Why? Because, it was cold, but you saw blue skies most of the time, right? Here, there's 2, 3, 4 months you go where it's just dark. And also, the differences in the days, meaning, in the wintertime, they're very short days. So you wake up, it's dark, you go home, it's dark,
mm-hmm.
So there's a big difference. And that was a shocker to me when I came here.
Okay. What do you like the most about people in Poland? Because you said, most of them are negative, but is there anything that you like about people in Poland? And if that's the case, what is it?
You know what? That's a tough question.
Nobody said it's gonna be easy.
Yeah. I actually never thought about it.
Hold on a second. Your wife is Polish, so it has
My
to be
wife is
something.
Polish, yeah, but you have to. A lot of the people I deal with when it comes to golf, they're very traveled individuals. Mm-hmm. So I think their outlook is so much different, than the average person. Yeah. I think there is a. I want to say there is this kind of. God, it's a hard question. That's a hard question. I really.
You want to park on it, and we'll come back to it.
Yeah,
right
let's hold on. Let me think about that one for a second, because that one is that's out of right field right there. For
All
me.
right. Okay. So you've been in Warsaw since what? 2003, 2004?
2003.
2003. What do you think about the way the city has changed since you landed here?
God, it's amazing. I actually look at, we go into the center of Warsaw, and it looks 1,000 times better than New York City right now. It's just so, innovative, upscale. And, I remember the days going to a golf tournament, stretching, and having to drive 9 hours. And now it's a 4-hour trip, So, the infrastructure, it's night and day, all the updates with subways and just the freeways and everything is remarkable. I mean, for 20 years, for a country to change so much, it's unbelievable. So it's actually been pretty nice to see those changes over the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed that when you live in Poland, you don't necessarily notice those changes, right? Because you are around them so much every day in and day out. When I left for US, I wasn't able to come back to Poland for first 5 years. Mm-hmm. And when I came back after 5 years, it was just like, I couldn't believe it, I couldn't believe it that the country changed so much. And now it changed even more as being, in European Union and having all the resources. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I think I think as soon as we popped into the European Union, it was full steam ahead. I mean, I think that's when there was the biggest kind of like jump, and you remember when they're building everything and how frustrating it was during those times because you're sitting in traffic. And obviously, you don't remember it now as much, but it's just an incredible amount of speed and work to get it to where it is today right now. So, yeah, hats off to Poland for, all the changes, because it really, I just want to go back this way because, I'd gone back to Hawaii now for the winter and thinking that, maybe this is somewhere I want to get back to, and leave Poland. Mm-hmm. And then, I'd been there for 6.5 months and I found kind of missing Poland. And I don't know if I would say, we still talk about the people, but I think the lifestyle, because the
we could adjust that question. It could be about people. It could be a country. It could be about,
Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, I would say the country overall, it is a great place to live. I would say if and it's understandable how the people are. I mean, there's no question. You had, Russia on one side, Germany on the other, beating you down for so many years. I mean, it's hard to have a smile on your face, when you're getting screwed on both sides of the, avenue.
Not even once, so many times.
Oh, so many times, yeah. I mean, if you look at Poland's history overall, I mean, just because of the location, I mean, and watching how we've gotten bigger and smaller because you don't have, you don't have somewhere to put your back against the wall because you're surrounded, So that's had to been an incredibly tough time for the Polish people, especially like looking at Maria's, my wife's grandparents, who are no longer around, but, getting to know them and, World War II. I mean, Jesus, I mean, having to go through all that, you just can't fathom it, you know.
Yeah.
Auschwitz, you know, all that with the Germans. I mean,
The history is not pretty when you look at Poland.
no,
Yeah.
no, it's
Sure.
not. But yeah, so I'd left Hawaii and I came back here, and I'm actually, just because I've gotten away for a certain period of time, I've actually started enjoying being here again. Going back to the people, yeah, I have a kind of little different mentality when having to deal with them, because, you know, when I came here, I was kind of shocked at about a lot of things, right? And now you kind of you expect them, but because you've kind of stepped away from it all, even with the, you know, because you expect it, it's not as big of a shock, right? Because you already know. I mean, after 21 years of being here, you kind of learn some stuff, you know?
You get used to it.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly.
So let's talk about your sport of choice, shall we?
Underwater basket weaving. Yeah.
How did your journey with golf begin?
Well, you know, it's a funny story, because I was one of the top tennis players in Hawaii. You know, I grew up playing tennis, and pretty much I started playing tennis because my dad was playing and parents were divorced, and that was my way to spend time with them. You know, so I got a scholarship first to a school called Fairleigh Dickinson, then I transferred to Seton Hall University. But I remember my first year being there, you know, and I'm training with the team, and we had a great team, because I'm still good friends with a lot of them. You know, we had a mixed batch. We had from Colombia, from Croatia, from Venezuela, you know, so that actually felt good, because, you know, a bunch of Europeans, South Americans, you know, same mentality, right? But, you know, we're training really hard, and I'd call my father up, and I'm like, you know, I'm going to get home, I'm going to beat your ass, because pretty much I was number one on the island. My father was number two. And we got to the finals, and you never beat your father because you wanted to destroy him. You know, so you always lose to dad back in the day. And I called him up, and I'm like, I'm playing so good right now, I'm going to kick your butt. He goes, there's no chance. I go, why? He goes, I don't play tennis anymore. I go, well, what are you doing? Playing golf. As soon as I got off the phone, I went to Sports Authority, which is a big sports store in America. I bought my first set of clubs, which were ladies' clubs, because I like the colors. And about half an hour later, I took my first golf lesson. And then it just kind of got into it. And then I went to Hawaii, and all of a sudden I got hooked. You know, so anytime I didn't have a tennis tournament, I was on the golf course. Anytime I didn't have classes, I was on the golf course. So I just kind of, you know, I found that I was kind of disappointed that I started so late, because I think I would have been, based on my body structure, I would have been so much better suited for playing, you know, college golf, or even moving on ahead, if I had started earlier.
I was about to say that did being born in Hawaii influence your interest in this sport? You know, in addition to you wanted to compete with your father, but being there, having the, you know, easy access to golf courses, the weather, etc.
Yeah, but you know, the interesting thing is I was already in college when I started playing. You know, so the only time I'd play in Hawaii was when I would come to visit. I also had kind of a few advantages. One of them was that I was a military dependent. My father was lieutenant commander in the Navy, and we have 6 military golf courses on the island, you know, at all the bases. So I got to play them for like $10, $12, you know, as a kid, which was great. And I got to play really nice golf courses. So my fascination didn't actually start in Hawaii. It actually started in New Jersey. Okay. You know, and New Jersey is, I would say I played a lot of places, and probably has some of the most incredible golf courses in the world overall, you know. So yeah, it was pretty much New Jersey. And then when I come on vacation, obviously the first thing I wanted to do is go play golf.
Yeah.
You know?
Cool. Excuse me. So in 2003, you have moved to Poland to coach the Polish national team, correct? Yeah. What were the biggest challenges of coaching them back then?
There's a bunch of things. One, because the golf was still something new overall in Poland, putting together a team was incredibly difficult. You know, you go to the States, you got 50, 60 guys that can get into a team, right? And then, you know, you're focusing on mental and, you know, how they can overcome certain challenges. Here, you're just trying to find 6 guys that can make a swing. And yeah, I remember when I came here, there may be 5 decent players, and one was kind of hitched in, where after, you know, I'd come in and I'd been here for about 6 weeks, and they were playing their first tournament, right, which was the Junior World, the championships, right, the European Championships, where Max had done really well. I think he finished in the top 5, which was the first time a Polish player had ever done that. But then what I actually had to do was do a plan, which was call up all the golf courses and invite all the juniors, anybody that, you know, they're just starting or they're advanced, and see if they were playing. And I'd invite them for a free golf clinic. And pretty much what I would do is I'd see these kids, and the lessons were pretty quick, meaning I would go, I'd see some of them look pretty good, and I'd tell them, I want you to do this, this, and that, and I'd walk away. I want to see how fast they would take into the information. One of those players that, you know, I'd found was Wojtek Świniarski. Unfortunately, Wojtek has passed away, but he was probably, I think, the most talented player I'd ever seen. Coming from Poland. I mean, mentally, you know, if he had to shoot 69, he found a way to shoot 69, you know. But, you know, from Lublin, poor kid. Lublin, I mean, back then they had a cow pasture, not a golf course, you know. And he was caught stealing golf balls, you know, because he was a poor kid and thinking he was going to sell them. They're like, stop stealing, why don't you come pick up some balls and you can practice. And that's how he got into it. And I was lucky enough to get involved with him back in the day, right? So that was, I think it's a kind of painful memory because he passed away, you know, because I know how much work he put in, and, you know, how much heart he had into the game. And I had a chance to be a part of that. You know? I think the other thing is, you know, because there wasn't other kids to replace the kids that we had, they felt like they could do whatever they wanted, you know. So I found when, you know, I found that there's a couple of things actually. I thought when I had come here and I was going to be the coach that, you know, all the kids are going to the same school, they finish school, we have practice, then we go play golf. Well, I find out they're all over Poland, and I'd see them maybe once a month for 3-4 days at a golf course, right? So that also made it difficult because you didn't have any consistency in training with them, right? Or teaching them the structure of working out, running, training when they're tired, actually. So when they're fresh, you know, they're working out, they're playing better. I'd found that, you know, I was more of a chaperone for a while, where we'd be staying in a hotel and the kids be wanting to go out to nightclubs, and I'd be sitting out, you know, with the captain and be like, all right, go back in your room, go back in your room. So that was really difficult. And I think the other thing is because some of the parents were on the higher echelon, you wanted to penalize the kid, you couldn't do it. Because I'd say, all right, he's not playing for a month. Yes, he is. And I really didn't have much control at that time. So that made it really difficult because, you know, I had to be, I was less of a coach and more of a teacher for a long time. And then having to get these kids involved with, you know, like I said, working out, right? Like Max is just a fit machine right now. A lot of these kids are into fitness more than they ever had before. And that was the start. I mean, I remember running from Binovo Park, and it was probably a 5 kilometer, 6 kilometer run. You know, and I was in decent shape, and I was smoking back in those days. I was faster than all the kids, right? And they're sucking wind, right? Because none of them were in shape. You know, so that I think that has changed a lot, because you look at kids like Adrian right now, Meronk, who's on the tour, and I mean, that guy is a fitness machine. He's working out, he's training, he's got a mental coach, you know. There was always that joke back in our day. We also had a mental coach. His name was Dr. Jack Daniels. You know, so I mean,
that's not a good coach.
No, but a lot has changed over the years, right? And it's nice to see that. But But I think still we're missing out on having a lot more kids because we don't have the infrastructure for it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if a parent has to take a kid 45, 50 kilometers just to go to a golf course, especially when I see the school structures, how these kids don't have like a set schedule. One day they finish at 6 p.m. The other day they finish at 10 a.m. It's really hard, especially when the parents are working, you know, whereas where I lived, I mean, for me, a golf course that's far away is 20 minutes,
Yeah.
you know, and you had all the schools, high school, intermediate school, they had programs. Every high school has a program. There's no programs here. The parents actually have to get involved, you know, to make sure to have a kid be a talented kid. Like, what's our soccer player? What's his name?
Which one? The best one right now
Yeah,
in Poland?
Lewandowski. Yeah, okay. Lewandowski, I mean, I know his mom because she has, you know, she comes to dinner, Thanksgiving dinner to my mom. And I've heard the stories of how much effort they had to put in to get their kid to where he is now. Whereas, look, if you look in America, the NFL, the NBA, everything goes through college. Everything starts in the high school, and then before that is community programs for sports, which you don't have here.
And on top of that, you have public golf courses in the States.
Yeah, it's
In Poland, they're all private.
They're all.
So the cost is
they're all golf courses here are public, but you know because everybody can play.
That's true. That's true.
But what you don't have, it's like when I go back when I went back to Hawaii last winter, my son wasn't 18 yet. He just turned 18. All the public courses in Hawaii, every kid under 18 could play for free.
There you go.
You know, but then again, with the high school programs, the kids get, you know, bused to the golf courses, and the school pays for it, or the school, you know, there's a program set with the golf courses.
Yeah.
So we don't have that here. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's expensive. It's not bad, but it is pricey in a way. Yeah, especially for kids, you know, where blue collar parents.
Exactly.
You know,
I was about to say that.
Yeah.
The parents that don't make a lot of money and they cannot afford for their kid to train in that sport. Yeah. Which qualities do you consider crucial for success in golf?
I think one is focus on goals, because you really need to have a kind of tunnel vision, and you have to have a plan. And the second thing is you have to have a never give up attitude, I think, more than anything, because you don't have to be the best player, but if you can put together a construct, a way to get around the golf course, it doesn't matter if you can't hit it. I mean, Corey Pavin couldn't hit it out of his shadow, and he won the U.S. Open, right? But compete with him in a short game, you're not going to have a chance with him, right? And I think overall fitness is primal these days. I think you have to be really good shape, because the distance the kids hit it these days is incredible. I mean, I played a few Challenge Tour events, and I thought I was pretty long until I saw some of these kids. They're hitting it in places. They took directions that I could never even fathom. You know, then again, my father looks at me and he can't fathom hitting the ball like I do, right? So there has been a change, and that has a lot to do with fitness, I think, more than anything. But I think, you know, it's a really good question, but I think it's just having a passion. Because if you have the passion, then all those things, you're going to do them, right? Without the passion, without that want, just to do it because your parents want you to do it, it doesn't work.
You're never going to succeed.
No.
And it's with every profession, every sport, every hobby, right? If you have passion for it, you're going to succeed in it, and you're going to be great. If you don't,
it's important. I think it's important to have a support system when we're talking about family.
Yeah.
But at the same time, not having parents that are trying to vicariously live through their kids. Because I've seen that, and that just, kids don't want to do it anymore, because it's more like they have to do it for their parents versus wanting to do it for themselves. You know, so I think support structure is definitely needed, because I don't think, you know, it's once in a blue moon that you have a kid that's come out of nowhere where he's had no family or anybody that's helped him, you know, so it's having that structure.
Cool. Do you think there are major differences between golf training in Poland and in US?
Golf what?
Training.
Oh yeah, there's no question. I think if you look at a lot of the things, I mean, yes, the TPI programs, which is the titleist performance, the training programs that they've created. I mean, they're very predominant. I mean, you have a lot of the pros that have been learning that stuff, but you don't have that structured here yet as much. I think having facilities everywhere that makes it a lot easier, having a plethora of instructors that actually have a teaching structure through the PGA. I think that's also important, for the kids, Refresh me the question again, because I started going off on a tangent and I kind of lost it there.
Do you think there are major differences between golf training in Poland and in the US?
Okay. Yeah,
and it doesn't
yeah.
and it doesn't have to, come down to just kids, right? And just young adults, but training in general.
Yeah, but I think the easiest answer to that is facilities. Jesus, now, yes, you have the fitness clubs everywhere, which you didn't have for a long time.
Yeah.
So the kids now, they're getting into it. Like my son is, gung ho at 18, right? Every corner, you had not a trainer at a gym, but a performance instructor that, did everything from blood testing to performance work to strength training to balance. You don't have that here. I haven't seen it yet, right? I think the other thing is you have trainers that are educated in a lot of things, but you say, well, I want to get stronger in golf. They still have no idea how to do it. So I think that's one of the biggest things. And the second thing is, well, I've already said it, but golf course facilities. I mean, you can go to a range, and in Warsaw, what we have three ranges, 2 indoor facilities, 3 golf courses. Try to get to them. I have a range in Żoliborz, which is a great location, and I think it's the most accessible when we're talking about public transport. But try to get them on a golf course. Take a bus. It's going to take 2 hours to get to the closest golf course that we have. So it's really difficult.
Yeah. Okay, let's leave Poland for a bit and look at the sport globally. Who is currently dominating the world golf rankings?
I'm still really pissed at myself because I sat there 5-6 days ago and I said I got to put some money on Scotty Scheffler because finally Rory McIlroy said something intelligent. And that was to Scotty, which was go from a blade putter to a mallet putter. And I said, that's a great idea. That'll just kind of eliminate a lot of problems because the guy is striking the ball better than anybody in the world. And I mean, I sat there this morning and I was kind of still annoyed because I didn't record the whole finals of the Masters because I've been busy working. I got probably the first 7 holes and the 18th hole, and I was annoyed I had to see the highlights. But Scotty was just a machine. And I just sat there and said, if he could just putt decent, there's nobody that can play better than the guy. I mean, the guy is impressive. The other guy, watching him this weekend impressed the hell out of me. I mean, everybody knows he's been impressive. I saw him in Hawaii. I was at the Sony Open, and I followed him. He had some shots that made my jaw drop, actually, but he didn't play too well there, which is Louis Alberg. Alberg is, I mean, he finished, first time he played the Masters, he finished second.
Yeah.
I mean, the kid was in college last year, played Ryder Cup last year. This year, he's top 10 in the world all of a sudden.
That's
Where did
crazy.
he come from? It's kind of like, we saw him, I remember they were playing, Alberg and Meronk were playing a tournament in Switzerland. And Alberg won the tournament. I'm kind of annoyed because they were kind of at that same level at that time. And all of a sudden, Alberg has kind of jumped and Meronk has gotten a little stagnant, over the last, couple months. Obviously, we could talk about that because of LIV and the PGA. That's an interesting topic, yeah.
And in your opinion, which of the top golfers is the most well-rounded and why?
Which of the
Which of the top golfers is most rounded, and why?
Well, Scotty's always consistent. Alberg, the same thing. It's kind of, he just takes a shot. Even if he hits a bad shot, he keeps playing around the golf. Rory, I think he's a mental nutcase. I don't think he can play consistently. I mean, there was a line the other day. I'm going to stick with Alberg and Scheffler.
Okay.
But going back to Rory, there was a line on Facebook, and they were trying to talk about the spreads in betting. Mm-hmm. And they said, all right, if you want to understand this plus 800 when betting on Rory McIlroy, let's say you bet $100 on Rory and you have plus 800, you're going to lose $100. Meaning that the expectations for him aren't that high, even though he's got one of the most beautiful swings in the world. Yeah, so I would go with those two guys right now. I mean, Scheffler's won 3 tournaments out of the last 5 that he's played, right? And he should have won, 4 tournaments. Mm-hmm. And this one, it was just kind of, watching the Masters, it was just a show, and it was very difficult conditions, and he played so consistent. So I go there.
Okay. Is there a young golfer worth paying attention to as a potential future leader?
Don't know.
No.
I'll tell you right now.
Okay. What about Adrian Meronk? Do you see him growing his status and becoming an icon? Probably not as big as Tiger, for example. But
I don't think that's going to happen anymore. I think, and if anyone blames him for the choices that he's made, they're crazy, because I think he's made probably the smartest choices for him and his family moving to live. I think there is a lot of reasoning for that, and one was not getting chosen for Ryder Cup, which he should have been chosen. So he kind of got slapped in the face being number 4 on the European Tour at the time. Then he got his PGA card, which was actually the direction that he wanted to go. But I think, when they're throwing $25 million a year in front of your face from a kid from Poland, that's the first golfer coming out. He's won a tournament, on the European Tour. Or he's won more than one tournament. He's won on the Challenge Tour. I think when you're knocking up $75 million, which I know his parents really, struggled and really financially helped him out to get to where he was. I think having a chance to take care of your family and guaranteeing yourself, not only your future, but the next few generations, you can't say no.
Of course.
I think the only downside, because there's always this talk about, and hopefully maybe Liv will connect with the PGA Tour again, because too many good players have moved away, obviously because of the money. But I think the PGA Tour has made a big mistake, because to get on the tour, you actually have to go through a qualifying school, which we call Q school, which is 3 different, now it's 4 tournaments, right? And you have to finish in the last tournament. I can't remember. I think it's the top 50 to get or the top 25, something like that, to get your card for the year. It doesn't allow you to play all the best tournaments, but it allows you to play the PGA Tour. And at that time, you had to finish 125 in the world just to maintain your card. So you are private. You're an outside. You're not somebody like you're a private contractor. So you're not like somebody in the NBA where you have a team that's paying you $40 million for the next 4 years, right? You actually have to earn your way to keep. So if you're a private contractor, I can't see why those LIV guys wouldn't be allowed to play on the PGA Tour. If they lose their status because of the tournaments that they have to play for LIV, okay, understandable. But I don't think they should be getting slapped in the face for going for the money, but still doing everything that they have to do to maintain their card. I think that would have made a lot of sense.
Sure.
But all of a sudden, rather than the game growing, which is, the structure of the PGA, the USGA, it's been, it's kind of like a clash of the titans right now. I mean, we see the USGA, they've, obviously a bunch of LIV guys are playing the US Open, a bunch of LIV guys played the Masters, a bunch of LIV guys are going to play the British, and the PGA Championship. So we're talking about tournaments outside of the PGA Tour, or run outside of the PGA Tour, still staying open to that, because they want they want the best rosters for the tournaments, right? Which
Yeah.
you don't have right now. It's I would say, because there's the question, which is better overall. I would say the players, except for maybe Scheffler in there, and maybe one or two other players on the PGA Tour, I think more of the interesting players on the Live. But the quality, still the quality of televising Live. I think this shotgun start where everybody starts on different holes, you can't kind of get used to enjoying what the golf course shows.
Yeah.
When they're playing a tournament where everybody's starting in the first hole, you see the first hole a couple times, you see the second hole a couple times, and they're going 1 through 18. We're here, they're jumping from hole to hole, and if you don't know the golf course, you have no idea what's going
happening.
on.
Yeah.
Plus, the camera, the professionalism of the cameras, and the commentating is a lot different. There, it's kind of, it's like a rock and roll kind of thing. So I think you have to get used to it and then try to figure out what's going on. But at the same time, you want to see those players that are playing there. You have, Dustin Johnson playing there. You have all these guys that if I was good with names, I'd just run them off for you right now. But, that people want to watch.
Yeah.
But they got the money. You can't blame them. You can't blame them at all.
Of course. Which golf tournaments or events are currently the most exciting for fans?
There's no question. First and foremost is the Masters. I think, you had Bobby Jones that designed this golf course, who was one of the best amateurs, or the best amateur known today, that built this golf course. Never got to see it to what it is right now, but it's one of these golf courses that's based on pure tradition. They don't allow 400,000 people on this golf course. They're limited. They actually keep the pricing fair for the people that come. They don't allow for television to add so many commercials. So you really get a great kind of feeling of being there. At the same time, I think where they have this kind of roller coaster of easy and difficult holes where you can go on a string of 4 or 5 birdies and you can go on a string of 5, 6 bogeys, we saw that in Tiger, this past Sunday where he finished 14 over. He finished last. He made the cut, but he finished last, So you really have to play probably your best golf on that golf course. And I know people get excited to watch it. I mean, everybody goes, listen, I'm not here for 4 days. It's the Masters, It's like the father saying to the kids, Thursday I have to work, Wednesday I have to work, Tuesday I have to work, Thursday we're in the basement watching golf, Friday we're in the basement watching golf, Saturday and Sunday we're doing the same thing. It's the Masters, yeah? So everybody gets hyped. Everybody gets excited, I think when we're watching the Phoenix, where they have also, it's kind of a different mentality, which is, on I think it's the 16th hole, it's a par 3, they have a stadium, guys drinking beer and it's going nuts. I think it's a different way of showing golf. But I think also all the slams are probably the most interesting because you have the best fields. Yeah. So I think those, especially when you're playing golf courses, well-known golf courses, I think that's also awesome.
Yeah, nice. What are your predictions for the future of professional golf? Are there any challenges or opportunities that will influence the development of the sport?
I think the first thing that's got to happen is I feel like it's going backwards right now because of all the money. I think we see that in all the sports these days, which is kind of changing the progression a little bit. I think sports that don't have such a competition like Live and PGA Tour, okay, but you see these college kids getting money they can't take money for playing, but they can take money for using their faces for commercials and stuff. And, they're making millions these days, right? So that's kind of promoting them to playing. But I think if they don't find a white flag between the PGA and the Live, and they come out to some kind of solution where they have maybe some events that are considered world events, which you have the top, let's say, I don't know, it's difficult to say because, you know, you have 100 or 200 players on the PGA Tour and you have only, 52 players on Live, right? And how can they, you know, it's a tough question right now. So until that settles, where all the best players are playing together, right now they're just kind of playing, you know, it's like the Spice Girls. Everybody's doing their own thing, you know. So I think right now golf is at a standstill. I think golf is at a standstill as from a professional standpoint. But I will actually change this golf in Poland.
That was my next question.
Yeah.
And in Poland, what do you see? What is your prediction for this country?
Right now, I think, well, the reason I came in 2003, you know, looking at what's going on in Poland and the changes, I thought that's when the boom's going to start, you know, and been waiting for that boom. And obviously, you know, of the almost 21 years I've been here, 14 years I own Olympic Golf Club. Why? Because I've been waiting for that boom. And I can tell you probably the last 3-4 years, you're kind of starting to see it progress. But this year, I know it's the start of the season, but what amazes me is not the amount. I mean, yes, there's so many more golfers right now that are coming to the range and practicing, but just your kids in the 20s that found interest, you know, maybe not as where, oh, I want to, you know, play even golf on the golf course, but I want to come hang out and hit some golf balls and hang out with some friends. It's become an alternative for a social thing rather than go sitting in a bar. Yeah. You know, which we can talk about. That's another thing I don't like in Poland. But you know, it's a social environment for a lot of these younger people. I think the other thing that we're still going to see, and this was when I was working on Wall Street, if I called a client, I said, listen, I'd like to meet and discuss a stock. Listen, I'm really busy. I got a tee time tomorrow. Where? What time? And then I had a client for 4 hours on a golf course. And once I finished, I knew the type of the person that they were, if they're cheaters, if they're competitive. You get to know their personality and you know what kind of person you're going into business with. And two, once you get off a golf course, you know if you're doing a business or not. I think a lot of the kids, or I know the kids that I used to teach that are adults right now, you know, in their mid-20s, they said, thank you so much that you kept pushing us to keep playing. Because, you know, I always said, look, it's not here yet, but you're going to have a lot of international business coming in. You're going to want to take care of stuff. If you can play, you can get a tee time and you can discuss, you can take care of a lot of things. So you can see it coming right now. You know, you can see that happening.
Somebody asked me the other day, because I mentioned that I'm going to start taking lessons. The question was, does this sport excite you? Like, what do you like about the sport? It's so boring, etc., etc. And I said, that's the only sport where you can actually not only play, but you can talk business at the same time.
Yeah, you can.
Not any other sport. You have to, you know, play, and then you can discuss it afterwards or, you know, during the break, but that's not enough time. Here you playing, you know, you're talking and you, as you said, you're getting to know that other person and their character and their way of, you know, dealing with people, etc., etc.
Why do you think high-end private clubs are so popular in America? There's one reason. It's not, you know, having, you know, if you're working on Wall Street, you're not dishing out the $300,000 for a membership just to be a member there. Mm-hmm. It's the networking structure.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, I've worked at so many clubs. One, I've gotten to meet some incredible people. I've gotten to meet incredible athletes. I've gotten to meet Bob King from King World that does Oprah, you know, these guys that I would never have a chance to talk to. And it's only through golf. And that was, I'll tell you, when I started in the golf business, which was, I'd left Wall Street because I'd just gotten stressed out. I was making great money, but I couldn't do it anymore. Mm-hmm. And actually, that's the reason I'm still here, because my office was on the corner of the 72nd floor at 2 World Trade Center. So probably the best choice I made. But I packed my bags, moved to Florida, and I was the guy cleaning carts and golf clubs at a PGA facility, TPC at Eagle Trace. It's actually my second job. I had moved from a Wayne-Izinga golf course because I couldn't play there, and the reason I got into working at a club is I didn't want to pay the $100,000 for the membership, but I had the use of the facilities. And that's where I made a lot of contacts, people that I can fall back to, or if I have investment ideas, I got money, people, so there's a lot of things I can do. And it's from a guy just getting tips from cleaning your clubs,
Yeah.
I probably got great seats for the Dolphins games and the Florida Panthers hockey games, right? I had great seats. I had it, and it was like, I can't go today. You want the tickets, kid?
No,
Right?
no.
So it was all these connections that I made that were incredible.
It's a great game to build that network and to make those connections.
It is,
Yeah.
it is, and I think that's the one thing that it's kind of like a magnet for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially when you look at guys like Michael Jordan and all, Charles Barkley, he was, I always like to say Ben Hacker. He was a hacker. And they're still fascinated with the game. It doesn't matter what level,
Yeah.
So I think that's the amazing thing about it is, I think the other amazing thing about it is, if imagine you and I went on a golf course, if you were a 50 handicap, I'm a scratch golfer, we could still have a money game, or we can have a match because of the handicap system. And it's, I think the best example, my wife goes, I bought her tennis lessons because she wanted to start playing tennis. She goes, when are you going to play with me? I go, no. She goes, why not? I go, because it's no fun for me. She goes, I don't understand. I go, I hit the ball straight to your racket and I'm running like a chicken chasing every one of your shots. But then, let's say she's going to a tournament with me in Kettering, we'll play for dinner. And what we'll do is, our handicap system is a little different. She'll play one ball, I'll play two balls. Mm-hmm. And the score of my two balls compared to her one ball. And there's a lot of times that I lose, right? But all of a sudden, even though she's a hacker, a golf hacker, I get the competitive juices playing with somebody that's on a completely different level, where in any other sport, you don't have it.
Sure. That's true. That's true. So you are the owner of the driving range that is located not far away from here. Mm-hmm. What prompted you to start this business?
I think there was a couple things because some of the advantages that I had coming here was, the coach of the national team from Hawaii, and there was a lot of, I guess, natural marketing that happened from it. So I was teaching probably the higher end guys, the actors, the athletes, so if I went to a golf course, they'd invite me to come teach there, FOC free of charge. And then after a year, when I bring these high-end clienteles in, they'd want, an exorbitant amount of money. And I kind of got tired of it. Mm-hmm. And I was actually, one year I was doing a junior program for a big corporate company. I'd kind of given up teaching, and I was doing just their programs for about a year and a half. And then I was sitting there with two guys, actually, that I was teaching in Wamianki, believe it or not, because I had a friend that owned a range there. Mm-hmm. Long story, but that range fell apart. And we got to talking, and we just said, why don't we just start our own range? And pretty much they wanted to do corporate events. That was their mentality. Mm-hmm. And I needed a place to teach where I didn't have to deal with golf courses. And I remember that the first couple of years were tough because the club wasn't making money. It was surviving, but I'd have to just teach a plethora of lessons. Now, I would say the first 4 years was just hard work. And then after the fourth year, the fifth year, it started making money, where I think probably by the ninth year, my teaching was a bonus versus, our main income, Mm-hmm. So it just came out because, there was always these issues with the owners of the golf courses. And the second thing, because my wife had my stepson and Kai was born, we bought a place. We're limited here. You have Vilanov, and there was always a lot of politics going on in Vilanov. And three golf courses, plus Womyanki at the time, which was where I was teaching. So where do you go work?
Yeah.
You want to have a little stability, So,
of course.
so I think my mentality was I didn't want to be a full-time teacher like a lot of the pros. I said, I'm kind of seeing, you have to go at a different avenue because there's only one of me.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't teach 10, 15 people at one time, right? Even if I had assistant trainers, still, they want you to oversee. And here, not only do I have a place where I'm not getting charged, rent or anything to teach there, I'm making money off different areas without me having to teach. Actually, for 2 years, I had taken off from teaching, just to get a break. Because the business had, kicked up so well,
Mm-hmm. Where is the range exactly located? I know where it is, but if you can just give the listeners.
I think the easiest way, it's by the Vistula, right by the Olympic Center. So we are probably in the northern part of Warsaw, probably about, I would say, 5-6 kilometers from center. But Wisłocrady, which is the freeway by the Vistula, we're just right off of that.
Yeah.
So as you get into Żoliborz,
It's a great location. For me, it's just a longer walk,
Yeah. I'll tell you, we actually got really lucky because when we opened it, there was actually, now you have that Wisła path that goes north and south, through pretty much most of Warsaw. When I opened that range, it didn't exist. And I think that's helped a lot golf too as well, because you have hundreds and hundreds of people or thousands of people daily going through there, and they kind of surprised that they see there's golf there, and they come in and we have all the signs, golf for new people. You've never played, come, we have this, right? So we've created packages for those, and I think that's promoted a lot.
Nice.
I think that's where our business is kicked off. Not from the people that play as much right now. During the week from probably 5 to 7, 8 p.m., we have all the people that play golf, because on the weekends they go play the golf courses, right? But on the weekends, it's probably our busy Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and it's not golfers.
Yeah, I was there last Sunday, and all the stands were occupied.
Yeah,
so,
it was like a picnic.
Full house.
Full
house. Yeah. So it's a place where golfers can practice their swing as well as their putting game. Do you coach? Do you have coaches there also, or are you the only one that?
No, I have.
teaches
I actually had Martin Hager, who teaches for the PGA. He was with us the last 2 years. Unfortunately, he's moved on because he's moved closer to his mother, because mom's sick and he just had a baby and just some crazy stuff. So he's moved closer to his mom. I have Kasia, which has been with me, I think I want to say 6 or 7 years. And she's just busy because, we've gone through a structure of teaching her and having a similar structure in the lesson. So if I say something to one of her students, they know exactly what I'm talking about. I think the difficulty, and I started teaching again this year because, I've found pleasure in doing it again after having my little hiatus.
Well, you see, we will see about that pleasure when I start taking lessons with you.
Me,
so.
I'm kind of like Dr. House of the golf swing. I like puzzles. So if you give me puzzles, actually it's more fun for me than if you hit it great. So,
Cool.
But I think one of the difficult things that I found is the quality of instruction. So it's hard to bring in somebody for a full-time position. Because I've had an issue with the quality of instruction, and I want to make sure that clients, there's a bunch of things that I want them to have when they leave. I want them to learn something. I want it to be professional, and I want them to have fun. Yeah. And I think those 3 points, if they're not set, which is very difficult to find, I don't just want to have an instructor just to be there. I allow other instructors, however, to come to teach at my club. I don't do like other clubs saying, you don't work here, you can't teach here. Yeah. I want to kind of open it up so everybody has a chance. Obviously, it helps me because people that never have come within my club, they see my range, and a lot of the times they stay. So we're missing. I could still use 2 instructors, but I just can't. to be honest with you, the one difficult thing that I have, because I had somebody in the past who was one of my initial partners in the driving range, which I had bought out, which I don't want to go into right now, but I put years of effort teaching him, and he had moved on, you know, and pretty much he created the same business that I copied my business, yeah. So I think I have a little bit more of a heartbreak than with any woman that I've dated in my life. Just the amount of time and effort and getting backstabbed from that. And going back, I don't know if it's kind of like my distance from the people around me here, that I don't want to do that again, because I feel like it's going to happen again. So, you know, I haven't seen a lot of partnership with the instructors here as we do in the States. I go back to Hawaii. I don't even have my PGA membership anymore. I have my Polish PGA, which, you know, at the private clubs, you call up and say, "Hi, Mark, PGA, I'd like to play your place." You get comped, right? If it's USPGA to USPGA. And because I have the Polish PGA, there was an issue at one time, but all the pros said, "Mark's family, we take care of family." So my whole point of that is, you know, the guys every Sunday and Monday, we get together, do little money games, socialize, take care of business things that we had to, but they all work together. Here, I think after my second year of being in Poland, I didn't want to play golf anymore because of what I had to read about myself in the forums. Yeah. You know, I was kind of just surprised, where I'm thinking I'm trying to do a lot of good, and I'm getting beat up for it.
That's no bueno.
So that's another thing. You know, going back to Polish people, I think they are the one incredible quality they have is, so I get a little answer for you, but I'm going to give a negative with this answer, by the way. One quality is, if you're down, if you don't have a place to stay, food to eat, whatever, they will do everything to help you. They will go out of their way to help you. There's only one problem.
If you're successful.
If your level gets better than theirs, those are the same people that want to push you down.
Exactly.
You know, but I think we talked about this, Machin. Yeah, Polish people here are familiar, and they will help. As they leave the country, they get a little more destructive. And I think we both experienced it in Chicago.
We did. I experienced that in New York. Unfortunately, I did meet great people, great Polish people that I'm friends still this day, but I did experience some really bad stuff coming from the people that I helped in the States. So yeah,
we talked about that the last time.
Exactly.
So I think anybody would have some histories, you know, to bring up. I think the big problem I have more than anything with Poland is probably, I don't want to say language barrier, because obviously I understand everything. I think it's like the little nuances, you know. It's kind of like, where did the Polish jokes come from in America? It has nothing to do with Polish people being stupid. It's just the way certain things translate, you know. Skóry dziękuję, thank you from mountain. You know, some Polish people, they'll translate everything
word for word,
right? And I'll tell you, probably one of the most frustrating things for me is, I was really funny. I was actually a funny guy, you know. So I'd be sitting, you know, with I'm here in Poland, and I hear something, and obviously I have this great reply in English, but I have to translate it. And when I translate it and I say it, they look at me like, "What's wrong with this guy?" And I'm sitting there going, "Well, it's actually really funny in English, you know, if you understood the nuances, you know." So maybe I'm a little defensive when it comes to Polish people, just because a lot of my personality that used to be a part of me hasn't been. It's kind of been cut off. You know, it's kind of like cutting off an arm, you know, right arm. So I think that's made me more kind of negative to it. So it's difficult, you know. It's difficult.
But you're Polish as well, you know, Polish, American. So, you know, we have the right to say that, right?
Yes, of course.
Me and you, we can say that.
Yeah, I think people outside of Poland I think they really like Poland.
Yeah.
You know, granted, yeah, they talk about the food, but yeah, people overall, they're nice. You know, I think when you get used to the Mr. and Mrs. I mean, I remember when I said to a lady, "Excuse me, where can I find this?" Do we know each other?
Yeah, right.
I'm Mrs. You know, Pani. You know, I mean, so these little nuances.
Yeah.
You know?
Let's go full circle and come back to Hawaii.
Okay.
What places would you recommend for someone to visit who has never been there? And I'm not talking the obvious touristy places.
Okay, but we're talking about golf or
No, just in general. Somebody wants to go to Hawaii, first time there.
Well, you have to. You know what? I'm going to say you definitely have to do Oahu first of all, because yeah, I know you say forget about the touristy places, but you have to go to see Waikiki Beach. That used to be, you know, a swamp. Mm-hmm. You have to climb Diamond Head to go see the views. You have to go, you know, to the North Shore to see the local side, right? Where everybody goes, rich Hawaii, but, you know, you have the surfer guys that, you know, they don't have a pot to piss in, right? But they're living out there surfing every day, right? You have to see kind of how much it changes when you go into different areas. Because Hawaii, what's amazing about Hawaii more than anything is what a cultural swamp it is. Mm-hmm. You know, because you have such a mix, you know, where you have, I mean, funny, actually, the people we make fun of is not Polish people, it's Portuguese. Okay, so we have a big Portuguese, a lot of Portuguese people in Hawaii. Yeah, obviously Asians, Japanese, Chinese, Korean. And then you also have the mix, which is what we call hapa. Hapa in Hawaiian is half. Mm-hmm. So you have kind of like a mix, like half Polish, half Hawaiian. I mean, just incredibly beautiful mixes. But you have all this fusion. So, sorry, I know I got off track because I started talking about people, but you have to kind of see Oahu because, I mean, I had friends come from Poland and they go, you know, it's amazing. You're on an island, but it's a city, but you don't feel like it's a city, but you have everything that a city would have. Okay? And then if we talk about, every island has something to give you. Obviously, you can go to the Big Island and you can either go skiing or watch the volcano. It's the same thing, you know. You go to Kauai and it's what you dream of, which is the lush green island, right? Mm-hmm. Then you have Maui, which is just hotels, tourism, golf courses, right? So you have kind of what you're looking for, you can find, you know. And I think the other great thing is if you're visiting, you can take a day trip. You know, you get up at 5 a.m, take the first flight out, which is about a 20-minute flight. You get there, you spend the whole day, do a Circle Island, you come back at 10 o'clock in the evening. Mm-hmm. You know, so it all depends if you're looking for something nature, if you're looking for touristy stuff, or you're looking for R&R, just kind of saying that you're in Hawaii, but how many people, you know, go on vacation and they go, where'd you go? Well, Hawaii. What'd you do? Well, I stayed at the hotel. Where? The Four Seasons. It was great. What did you see? Well, just stayed at the hotel. You know, but I was in Hawaii, right? So everybody there's a little bit of everything for everyone.
Cool. I never been to Hawaii, but that's one more place to add on my bucket list. So.
Hey, I mean, you know, my mom's the honorary consul to Poland and Hawaii. And she used to have Polish travel tour business in Hawaii Poland Tours, mm-hmm. which it's moved on to her partner. She's kind of retired because they've developed the Airbnb business in Hawaii. Okay. So she's retired on that right now. So she spends half a year here in Poland and half a year in Hawaii. But hey, anytime you want to come, mikasa sukasa, buddy.
Thank you. I'll take you on that over. Yeah. Thank you, Mark, for meeting with me.
Hey, thank you so much.
And it was a pleasure. I guess we could talk about Hawaii and golf and Poland and US for much longer, but I know that you're a busy man. So
I actually enjoyed it today. I appreciate it. And to be honest with you, it's the first time I've got to do an interview in English in the last 21 years. So this was a lot of fun.
There you go.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
W imieniu autora dziękuję Państwu za uwagę. Zachęcam do subskrypcji podcastu oraz jego oceny.